a little while to get the votes in, and there's Gwinnett County has only got 17% of the vote in, which is not very much. So that's also part of a little bit of a slowness there.
What cities are Gwinnett County, John? When you say
It's suburban Atlanta.
It's suburban Atlanta.
It's just
surprises there in terms of the projections, but you can actually look at some of the numbers we're seeing right now, and things are looking a little hinky right now at first glance. You see this is a presidential race in Idaho, and obviously this is a deeply red state. This one has already been called by the AP for President Trump, but right now you can actually see of the votes that have been reported by Idaho State Secretary of State, 53% Joe Biden ahead of Donald Trump. Now that's nothing to freak out about. Idaho is not expected to suddenly become a blue state. This is most likely just the result of Democrats voting early, voting by mail, and getting those ballots in early. Let's take a look now at the state of Washington, which you also heard was called for Vice President Joe Biden. Right there you can see the blue check mark. He is up on Joe Biden, or on President Donald Trump, a pretty significant amount right now. Again, not really any surprises there. And now let's also go ahead and take a look at how the results are looking in Spokane County, if we can. Nope, we're going to go actually move towards the governor's race. We have Governor Jay Inslee right now leading the state 62-38 in the votes that have been tabulated so far. Now, again, this is only a handful of counties. There's still a lot of votes left to be tabulated, but right now, Governor Jay Inslee has been called by AP as the projected winner. He's likely to get a third term. Now, let's take a look at one other race right now. This is what I'm really interested in. This is Referendum 90. Washington voters choosing whether or not to repeal a recently passed law mandating comprehensive sex ed in schools at all grade levels. We didn't really know what this would look like since it wasn't on the primary ballot, but let's take a look at these results right now with the counties that are currently reporting 62-38 right now, approving that referendum, keeping it in place. But again, still a lot of ballots left to track, a lot of counties left to report to get in the mix on all this data. Right now, though, R90, Jay Inslee, and Vice President Joe Biden all leading in Washington. And even though the numbers show Joe Biden leading in Idaho as well, AP calling that race for the president because of the early votes coming in mostly being for Biden. For now, I'll send it back to you in the studio, Mark.
All right, Casey, thank you very much. We'll check back in with you later in the broadcast. Meantime, we're tracking multiple watch parties across the state. Gubernatorial candidate Lauren Culp and his base are in Tenino, and the Spokane Democratic Party holding a virtual watch party. These are live views from both of those events. Meantime, in Idaho, Kootenai County voters have turned out in a big way, and we're learning that tonight. Yeah, we want to send things over to Taylor Vito, who's at the Kootenai County Elections Office. Taylor, what's the scene there tonight?
Well, yeah, guys, you know, the calm before the storm right now. The polls closed at 8 o'clock, so right now they're waiting for those ballot boxes to be coming in, and actually we're in the receiving area, and they're going to be coming right through this door here. We have elections office staff ready to receive those ballots. They then will tick those ballot boxes, take the ballots out of them, and then start counting them. Now, of course, a record evening here in Kootenai County, record high turnout. As of an hour ago, at least 87,000 ballots here. Expect some more as the evening continues. For now, reporting live in Coeur d'Alene, Taylor Vito, KREM 2 News. All right, Taylor, thank you very much.
It's a lot to keep track of. We know that some of the races have already been called based on the results that are in, but still there's a lot of counting left to do.
It was interesting. As soon as the clock struck 8, the AP called the races for California, Washington, and Oregon. My goodness, we'll see kind of how the chips fall at the end of the night, but so far, that's what we know.
And of course, we will be back in 30 minutes with another update.
The voters of the state of Washington tonight did not vote to cower from COVID, or to cower from climate change, or to cower from those forces in Washington, D.C. who want to take away our health care. No, they voted to confront those challenges, to defeat those challenges, and to organize all of the energies of the state of Washington to accomplish those great victories. That's a mandate for victory, and I believe we are going to follow it. So I just want to thank everybody tonight. This is deeply personal for Trudy and me. I'm a fifth-generation Washingtonian. We raised 3 boys in the Yakima Valley. They've all been very, very lucky in marriage. We have 4 grandchildren whose futures are tied to the work that we'll be doing now as governor of the state of Washington. And I can tell you we'll get up every morning committed to that, to you and your children and your grandchildren. So tonight I want to thank you, Washington, for masking up. I want to thank you for committing to beating COVID. I want to thank you for choosing to come together and stick together. I want to thank you for being committed to rebuilding our economy. And thank you for being optimistic about our ability to build a clean energy economy. So please enjoy tonight. We have work to do tomorrow. Come let us move forward together. Thank you. Happy to stand for a couple easy questions. I've only been elected for 18 minutes, so you got to take it easy.
You say there's a mandate for action on climate change and the COVID crisis. Does that mean we should expect some new taxes for climate relief? Do you expect to take put more restrictions in place for COVID? What do you see this push moving you towards?
Well, the first thing is to continue our efforts. It's a mandate to continue our efforts. We today have some of the most successful efforts against the COVID pandemic. And I believe this is a vindication of that and a mandate to continue those efforts, what we're doing right now. The future can only be answered by the future, but right now we should continue what we're doing. We are social distancing. We are masking up. Now we know we have to be more dedicated to that in our homes, because the science has shown that now we are having more transition in our homes. We're wearing masks we go to the grocery store. We're wearing masks if we go to the office, but we need to have social distancing and masking in our homes to prevent transmission. On climate change, we have done tremendous work in our state. I am so proud. We've got the best electrical grid bill in the United States. We have the best energy efficiency bill in the United States. What we need is a way to stop the pollution from our transportation sector. And I am looking forward to working with legislators to get that job done.
Governor, it's rare in this state to have a third term. In fact, you are just the second to do it. The results coming in right now with over 3.25 million votes in have you at nearly 60% of the state vote. That's the widest margin of victory that you've seen as governor if this holds. What do you make of that near 60% vote this time around?
Well, look, whether I won by 60% or 1 extra vote, it's not going to change how I do business, which is to get up every morning trying to figure out how I can help Washingtonians in their lives. So I guess, to be honest with you, that doesn't have a lot to do with how I think of this job and this responsibility. It might be pleasing, but it doesn't change how I intend to do the job, which is the best I can do every single day.
What does it say about the person that you ran against, your opponent?
What it says is he had the courage to run, and I always respect people who are willing to run for office. He gave Washingtonians a choice. It was a very distinct choice. I don't think you had a more distinct difference in the proposals and the vision statements of the 2 candidates. They chose mine, and I'm very happy about that.
Governor, can you give us a reaction just to the national results as they're unfolding?
I'm sorry?
A reaction to the national results as they're unfolding?
My reaction was, let's hurry up and count the votes. I think it's still very competitive. When I walked down the steps, it was competitive in Arizona and maybe competitive in North Carolina, and I haven't heard much from Pennsylvania. So what I will make a comment. All of us, potentially for days, could be on tenterhooks waiting for these votes to be counted, and it will be extremely anxious for all of us, I know. I think we're all going to have to find more patience than we'd like to. I'm going to encourage people, whatever feelings they have, to express them peacefully, certainly. This is a moment for maximum civility. Everybody wants to see the votes all counted. I do want to make it clear, though, we need to count all the votes everywhere in the United States, including here in the state of Washington. I know the president has said some untoward things threatening the ability to count votes that are received after Election Day. Well, we've been doing that for years. It works, no fraud, and we certainly are not going to allow the president to stop counting all the votes in the state of Washington. You can take that to the bank. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next 4 years. Take care. Hey, you guys got a key? I guess my winning margin wasn't big enough to get a key.
We'll do a press conference on the official side tomorrow at 2:30. Sorry? Tomorrow at 2:30 from the official side, we'll do a press conference. We'll send out advisory.
Is there any chance the governor's going to come out later tonight, like say there's a lot of unrest in Seattle? Yeah, great.
We'll talk to the official office about that, but right now, we're just gonna be monitoring, things all around the state, across the country. So there's nothing to react to yet. He's gonna be monitoring all of this, and if there is, I'm sure the official office will alert all of you.
Pennsylvania.
All right, Pennsylvania.
I am told one of my best sources in Pennsylvania is someone pretty good at politics there, former.
Welcome, everyone, to KREM 2 News special election night coverage. I'm Mark Hanrahan alongside Whitney Ward.
So the polls have been closed now for just under an hour. Elections offices in both Washington and Idaho now entering into the process of tabulating all of those ballots. The early returns still coming in. So far, though, the Associated Press has called the race for governor for Jay Inslee. The AP also calling Washington for Joe Biden.
Meantime, the AP calling Idaho for President Trump. And in the race for U.S. Senate, the AP has called the race for Jim Risch.
The voters of the state of Washington tonight did not vote to cower from COVID or to cower from climate change or to cower from those forces in Washington, D.C. who want to take away our health care. No, they voted to confront those challenges, to defeat those challenges, and to organize all of the energies of the state of Washington to accomplish those great victories. We'll see you in the next 4 years. Take care.
Well, that was Governor Jay Inslee just moments ago addressing Washington voters after being re-elected as governor of Washington, as called by the Associated Press. As we start to get a better idea of numbers coming in, want to get right to our political reporter, Casey Decker.
He's live right now with some of those results. So, Casey, what are we seeing as these numbers continue to come in tonight?
We'll do a quick look here at the actual numbers in the states you just mentioned, Idaho and Washington. In Idaho right now, no surprise, Donald Trump up 54-46 over Joe Biden. Idaho always a red state. Let's go ahead and take a look at Washington as well. Again, we're really not seeing any surprises there. Vice President Joe Biden leading 61-37 with the current number of votes that are recorded there. Washington always a solid blue state. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Spokane County specifically in the presidential race here. And we can see here that the president and Vice President Mike Pence are winning in Spokane County by about 50% to about 48%. Also not that much of a surprise. Spokane County generally leaning red, certainly a Democratic contingent within the city limits, but countywide, not surprising to see that one right now going for the president. And now let's take a look at the actual data for the governor's race as well. As you just heard, AP calling that race for Jay Inslee. Right now we're looking at a whopping 60-40 lead statewide with the number of votes that are in. Obviously still a lot left to be cast. And I also took a look at the Spokane County numbers. In Spokane County, Lauren Culp is actually leading 53-46 over Governor Jay Inslee. So that's a decision right now being made by voters outside of Spokane County, leaning more towards Inslee, whereas here in Spokane County, Culp is certainly the favorite. Now I want to look at one more that I'm really interested in. That's Referendum 90. Washington voters weighing in on a recently passed sex ed law. And right now they are weighing in saying they approve of that law 60-40 right now with the number of votes that have been counted. So Washingtonians right now, at least, in favor of comprehensive sexual education in their schools. For now, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Casey, quickly, I want to ask you about the race for lieutenant governor. What's the results on that one? Do you know that top of your head?
Well, we're looking at right now pretty much again what we expected. We're seeing Denny Heck leading Marco Elias. Both of those candidates are Democrats. Denny Heck really the more establishment candidate. Marco Elias also pretty experienced but certainly younger, more progressive. Right now it looks like Denny Heck, who was favored to win, is still favored to win that race.
All right, Casey, thank you very much. And of course, stay right here on KREM. We'll be back again in 30 minutes.
and the KREM 2 website. We will continue our live election coverage tonight at our 10 o'clock newscast for election results and analysis, and then again at 11 o'clock.
Right now, we want to turn straight to KREM 2's political reporter, Casey Decker. Casey, I know you've been tracking these numbers. You were tracking the early projections, and now we're starting to get the early returns in both Washington as well as Idaho. So where do you want to start tonight?
Yeah, well, let's just start with the race for president in Idaho, because not a lot of surprises there. Idaho obviously always a deeply red state, and we're seeing the same thing again here in 2020. The president currently carrying that state 55-45 with the number of votes that are in right there. So not a lot of surprises. Idaho, of course, staying Republican at the moment. Let's go ahead and take a look at Washington as well. There we're not, again, going to see really any surprises. Vice President Joe Biden leading 61-37, a pretty good margin there, and you can see why the AP has called that race for Joe Biden, just as it is called Idaho for President Trump. Right now, again, not a lot of big surprises in the presidential race in either of those states. And let's look a little closer now at some countywide data. Let's look at Spokane County here in our area. Right now, President Trump leading 50-48, so a little bit closer than in Idaho, or a little bit closer than in the state of Washington as well. This county does tend to be a little bit more purple, though it certainly tends to lean red. There's obviously the Democratic contingent within city limits, but obviously that here is not enough to carry Joe Biden to a lead in Spokane County. The president still leading here in Spokane. Now let's look at the race for governor as well. That, of course, is a big one. AP has called that race for Jay Inslee, giving him his third term most likely, and you can see here the numbers are pretty impressive for the current governor. 60-40 lead over Republic Police Chief Laurie Culp with the number of votes that have been cast and tabulated so far. That will probably get a little bit closer as the night goes on. Maybe it won't, but that would be my guess. But either way, it's pretty much likely right now that Jay Inslee will get his third term. And there's also, of course, the race for lieutenant governor. That one's a little bit interesting in that there are only Democrats in that race. No Republican made it through the primary. So we have Denny Heck here versus Marco Lias. Now, Denny Heck is a current U.S. congressman. He's more experienced, kind of represents the establishment wing of the party. Marco Lias, a current state senator. He's more progressive. He would be the first openly gay statewide executive. They haven't really disagreed that much on issues. It's been more about what kind of experience people want in their lieutenant governor. Now that Cyrus Habib is the current lieutenant governor going to become a Jesuit priest, Denny Heck right now leading 58-42 statewide. That's about what we expected there. Heck is a more well-known name statewide, being a U.S. congressman. All right, let's go into the next slide here and go ahead and take a look at one of our other big races. That, of course, is the race for Congress here in Eastern Washington, the 5th District. Congresswoman Kathy Mamoris Rogers right now leading 60-40. Again, no surprises there. Eastern Washington, typically very conservative. Dave Wilson, not exactly the strongest candidate that the Democrats have ever run against CMR. He didn't have a lot of qualifications. He also was only a Democrat recently. He was an independent in 2 previous elections that he ran against CMR. They didn't put a lot of resources into this particular campaign, so we're not surprised right now to see CMR leading and likely to keep her seat, go into her 9th term. All right, let's look at another race now, and this one I believe will actually be a race for state legislature. Here we've got Bob Mccaslin leading over Laurie Fagan. Now this seat is interesting. This seat is the one that is currently held by Representative Matt Shea. Of course, he's very controversial. There was that House report that came out that said he had engaged in an act of domestic terrorism. He was booted from the GOP caucus for that report. So he decided this year to enter the ministry, not to run for re-election. But Bob Mccaslin is actually also currently in Olympia for Spokane Valley. He right now holds seat 2. He decided this time to run for seat 1. Now that's because mostly Laurie Fagan, the Democrat who was running against Matt Shea, was running a very strong campaign. It was a political maneuver. There's really no difference between the seats. They decided, Republicans did, that Mccaslin would be a stronger candidate. He's more well known in the area. He's basically an incumbent. And right now that decision is paying off. He's leading 59-41. Not a big surprise considering how conservative that 4th district is in the eastern part of Spokane County. Now, Bob Mccaslin, running for position 1, left a hole for position 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at position 2 now, if we can. And that's where we have Rob Chase leading Lance Gurrell. Again, it's a deeply red district. Chase up 61-39 at the current tabulation. Chase is a former Spokane County treasurer. He got into some controversy for some blog posts he's done that promoted coronavirus conspiracies, other conspiracy theories as well. Lance Gurrell, not exactly a well-known guy. He's an accountant. He did get more votes than Chase in the primary, actually, but that's because Chase had another Republican running against him as well, Leonard Christian, a bit more of a moderate candidate. So right now, Chase, though, leading 61-39. Even though Matt Shea is not on the ballot, having Chase and Mccaslin currently leading in those races is a big victory victory for him and the more right wing of the Republican Party here in Eastern Washington. And I think that's about all the races we have right now. I'll go ahead and send it back to you now in the studio. Mark Whitney.
Casey, I did want to ask you about Referendum 90. That's perhaps one of the most controversial referendums and ballot issues that we have had. Certainly a lot of support to go into it on the state level, and a lot of critics here in the eastern side of the state as they said they wanted to repeal that law. The number is obviously very different here on the east side versus the west side.
Yeah, that's right. I'll go ahead and actually pull up the numbers here on my tablet to give you the data that we're seeing in Spokane County. We were seeing earlier, I don't know if we have the data up here for the statewide on Referendum 90, but Referendum 90 right now, yeah, is leading about 60-40 statewide in approval of keeping that sex ed law. I just pulled up here now on my tablet the data for Spokane County. Right now, it is 53-46 against. So most of Spokane County, at least the voters who have been tabulated so far, we're seeing that those voters right now are leaning towards rejecting that sex ed law, and that pretty much goes with what we'd expect. We saw a number of protests here in Spokane against that sex ed law, and we've seen a lot of momentum against it in general at a lot of like conservative rallies and such. Has been a big talking point, always petition gatherings and things like that. So that data, not particularly surprising to see Spokane County voting right now in favor of rejecting R90. However, as we are seeing right now, the statewide data shows that Washington as a whole seems to be approving that particular law.
And Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, but the results we're seeing thus far for the state of Washington, nothing really seems that surprising to me. I mean, we're tracking a couple more races as well, like the Attorney General for Washington. I believe Bob Ferguson is ahead at this point. What can you tell me about that race?
Sorry, Mark, could you repeat that question?
Just the race for Attorney General here in the state of Washington. I think that Bob Ferguson, who's the incumbent, remains ahead at this hour. What do you know about that one?
Yeah, that's the data that I saw earlier as well. And again, like you were saying, not a lot of surprises here in the state of Washington. A lot of these strong incumbents, people have known them for a while. Those incumbents are tending to lead in their races right now. Bob Ferguson is a pretty well-known figure in the state of Washington. He has a pretty substantial lead over his opponent right now. And yeah, I would expect that he will retain his position as well.
We know the governor has already done his victory speech. He has pretty much declared victory. I know the AP called that, of course. Lauren Culp, though, did get, 40% of the vote. Do you have any kind of analysis on maybe what that might mean? Do you have any anticipation that Jay Inslee might start to pay a little more attention to this side of the state and the concerns that people have over on this side?
I would say right now the data that we're seeing statewide suggests that the governor got a pretty strong mandate in favor of what he's doing right now. I wouldn't expect the data that we've seen so far to make him really reflect and change anything in any way. I mean, we are seeing here in Spokane County that Lauren Culp is currently winning 53-46 in the local race in Spokane County. But Jay Inslee, as you can see here, 60-40. If that number holds, that's a pretty strong mandate for the governor to continue what he's doing. Wouldn't really necessarily be something where he would have to reflect and wonder what the other 40% are doing because he's continuing to win a third term here, which is something that hasn't been done in the state of Washington since the 70s.
And Casey, I want to put this kind of into perspective for us, or into context rather for us, this election, because it's happening in the middle of a pandemic, and coronavirus cases are surging here in Washington and the inland Northwest specifically, as well as North Idaho. So it seems to me that kind of the path that Jay Inslee's been taking would remain the same in terms of fighting or trying to contain the coronavirus statewide.
Yeah, and I think that reflects some of the polling data we saw early in the year. We saw one of the big factors of the people who were supporting the governor for a third term is that they pretty overwhelmingly in the polling data for Washington state approved of the way he's been handling the coronavirus. There's obviously been a lot of noise on the other side, disapproving of the way he's handled it, but it seems at the end of the day, when it comes to people actually at the ballot box, a lot of people are supporting the governor's actions, are supporting the way he's handled the virus, and we've seen in some of the data as well that Washington has had more success relative to some other states that haven't necessarily taken as extreme measures in terms of keeping those numbers down. That seemed to have done well for the governor here on Election Day.
Certainly, though, perhaps going to be disappointing to many people on this side of the state who have felt often that their concerns, their perspectives are not heard nearly as much and not paid attention to nearly as much, that larger voice over in the Seattle area continues to reign supreme across the entire state, even though we know there are two very different perspectives.
Absolutely, and I think we see that in nearly every race that we're looking at statewide, where Spokane County is going one way and the state of Washington another. That's nothing really new to voters here. I'm sure they're not used to always getting their way when it comes to statewide elections. They certainly did, yeah, like you mentioned, they voted for Lauren Culp. They voted against R90, but we're seeing in the statewide numbers there that, yeah, that west side contingent, the more liberal side of the state, is certainly still populous enough that it is going to usually win in these statewide elections.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And I will point out that it's kind of maybe unusual, maybe not, Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kim Wyman, Secretary of State for the state of Washington, she's leading at this point, and she's a Republican, so you don't see too many Republicans leading in statewide races, at this point in Washington at least.
No, not at all. And actually, Kim Wyman's kind of been something of an anomaly for a while now. There are not very many statewide executives that are held by Republicans. I believe the only other one is the state treasurer, Dwayne Davidson, who's facing a tough contest this year. But Kim Wyman seems to have essentially won the trust of Washington voters. I think it's one of those things where you have an incumbent who is holding an executive position. She runs the elections for the state as Secretary of State, and I think basically if people are happy with the way elections are being run in the state, they're going to continue to vote for Kim Wyman, and that's, I think, again, what we're seeing tonight. People are generally pleased with the mail-in ballot system in Washington, the top two primary system, and the general ease and security of the election they seem to approve of. Her opponent, Gail Tarleton, kind of tried to tie her to President Trump and his attacks on mail-in voting, but that didn't really seem to work. Kim Wyman, she wasn't necessarily the fiercest defender of mail-in voting, but she was defensive of it, and she continued to assure Washington voters all year long that this process would work, as it always does, and it seems to have done so, and I think we're seeing Washington voters still trust Kim Wyman and the job she's doing as Secretary of State.
Casey, one more question about a local race, and that's about Jenny Graham. We found out today that she's actually recovering from COVID-19. Do we know how she fared tonight in the election?
Well, we can look at some county results, and we can see that she is currently in Spokane County leading 52-47 over her opponent, Tom McGarry. That is certainly not a huge mandate in a typically leaning red district, but it does look like right now she's leading in her race to keep her seat. Yeah, she's certainly a controversial figure. She's done some posts on Facebook, for instance, that linked to conspiracy theories, but right now it looks like she is favored to keep her seat.
Casey, really fast, I don't want to put you on the spot, but any surprises or anything that you've been watching for in Idaho? Not as many controversial issues necessarily, but anything that stood out to you tonight?
I will say, yeah, I saw one thing. The Kootenai County Sheriff's race was interesting to me because right now the Republican candidate Norris is leading pretty significantly. He has more than 60% of the vote. That's not necessarily a surprise in Kootenai County, obviously a very Republican district, but he did have a pretty strong challenge from a libertarian Bauer, an independent candidate Bauer, who was a more strong challenger than I think a lot of people were expecting, but still he hasn't quite cracked 30% of the vote even in the last time I checked. So that was interesting to me to see Norris leading so heavily in Kootenai County for that sheriff's race.
Yeah, all right, Casey Decker, thank you very much. Kind of to wrap things up, no real big surprises for the states of Washington or Idaho tonight in terms of results that we know so far.
And we'll continue to track it, of course. We'll be back in another 30 minutes or so as we track the next round of results that come in both in Idaho and in Washington.
Yeah.
So hope that you will join us at that time.
Yeah, tune into KREM 2 News at 10 and 11 for more election coverage.
And I'm going to continue to work hard to get results, to lead on issues that are important to Eastern Washington around creating jobs and making sure that we have access to quality and affordable health care, and closing the digital divide, addressing the need for rural broadband in particular that has only been underscored since COVID. And so I take this responsibility very seriously.
And you did mention it during your speech here earlier about the COVID-19 and kind of the time that we're living in right now. And, a lot of people have been wondering about the stimulus package. Are we getting a second one? So what are your thoughts on that and your plans?
Yes, we do need an additional relief package. I was disappointed that we weren't able to reach an agreement before the election. I do believe that soon after tonight, that we will be able to come together and pass that package, because we need the extension of the Paycheck Protection Program. We need to extend some of these dates because this is all lasting longer than anyone anticipated. And we also need the flexibility within the Paycheck Protection Program to continue to help our businesses on Main Street and individuals that continue to struggle during this time.
And right now, a little bit after 8 o'clock, all of the votes and the ballots are kind of being collected right now. It looks like from polls, Joe Biden is slightly leading the way right now. If he does end up becoming president, how do you plan on working with him on the future plans that you have?
Well, my approach has always been to lead and to work to get results. And I'm really proud of a record of getting results, whether it is around Fairchild and veterans or healthcare, building our economy. And I'm going to continue to put the people of Eastern Washington first and work hard every day to make our lives better and build stronger families and stronger communities.
And for all of the voters out there who have voted for you today, there were a lot of last-minute voters, a huge voter turnout today. Is there a message that you'd like to send to those voters who are, have stuck by you all of this time?
Well, just it is a tremendous honor to represent this district in Congress, to represent all of the people that live in Eastern Washington in Congress, and to be their voice. I encourage you to continue to reach out. I want to hear from you. I want to learn, and then I'm committed to leading.
And at this point, the House is kind of, the majority is a Democratic House right now, and you would kind of be the minority. How do you plan to work with your peers and your fellow colleagues, in the years forward now?
Right. Well, it's about building relationships, and that is what I have done all through the years. And I have a proven record of working on legislation, working in caucuses, whether it's hydropower or disabilities, but working with my colleagues across the aisle on issues that are important to the people of Eastern Washington, and being able to build relationships based upon trust so that we can get things done. Legislating is tough work, but I believe that I have the relationships and a proven record of being somebody who digs in and does the tough work to make a difference.
And right now, it's so close right now with the presidential race. What are kind of your predictions for the presidential race? Obviously,
yes. Well, I still, I heard that Las Vegas now has put the odds on President Trump winning that re-election. And when you look at his record of results, promises made and promises kept, I do hope to be working with President Trump in a second term.
And what has your successes been with working with President Trump these past couple of years?
Well, I would point to rebuilding the military. He led on rebuilding the military, very important to our region. The Mission Act for our veterans, which is really addressing some of the waiting list within the VA and care in the community. Worked with the administration on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that lowered the tax burden and really was foundational to building a booming economy and creating jobs. And when you're creating jobs, you're creating opportunities. And so there's a long list.
All right, and we just found out that Governor Inslee is kind of the projected winner for governor this coming, these next couple of years. A message that you'd like to send with him, and how are you planning to work with Governor Inslee?
Well, I appreciate that Governor Inslee has kept the lines of communication open all throughout COVID, and he's hosted almost weekly conference calls with the delegation, Republicans and Democrats, so that he understood what's happening in Eastern Washington around COVID, and from my perspective. And he's been very good about keeping those lines of communication open, and I would anticipate he'll continue to do that we can work together to really address the needs and understand those needs and address those needs as quickly as possible.
Right, and last question here tonight. I know you have talked about it in the speech, and I did ask you about COVID-19, but I mean,
Earlier this evening to show you as well. Even before the polls closed, workers were counting absentee ballots. And you'll recall that Kootenai County sent out a record number of absentees, more than triple the number they did in 2016. Across the county, lines got a little long at times in the county, but election staff say everything was going smooth. Those lines were consistent throughout the day. We caught up with Kootenai County's clerk and top elections official right after the polls closed at 8.
It's been an exciting evening for sure, Taylor. It has been record numbers of voters in Kootenai County, and we are now getting ready to start counting those record number of ballots. And my goal is to have it done tonight.
Well, there you have it, hoping to have those ballots counted tonight. And Kootenai County does all their counting right here. They're the largest county to do that, so we'll be sticking here throughout the evening. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Taylor, thank you very much. And of course, this was a very new system for Idaho to go to this year, when Washington has, of course, been used to voting by mail.
Yeah, a lot of absentee ballots in the state of Idaho this year. Well, we will be back in 30 minutes with an update on your local races. Until then, have a good night.
That we can continue to see our kids be able to get back into school. I think it's so important for their education, but also for their social, emotional, and our mental health, that we are able to get our kids back in school. So better days are yet to come.
Wonderful. All right. Anything else you'd like to share with the viewers watching
good.
today?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Did you get a good one, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smiley face.
Me, smiley face.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Came out and kissed Brian.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, that was.
Very beginning. It has been about we the people, about each and every one of you, and people just like us all across this state. We are not conceding. We are going to let everyone's voice be heard and every vote be counted. We're seeing some irregularities as well, some things that make you go, huh, really? Yeah, 60% of the population of this state want the comprehensive sex ed bill, really? No idea how that happened, right? Everybody I've talked to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people over the last 15 months. I've not met anyone who wants that. And they're telling us it's passed by 60%. You've got to be kidding me. Like I said, we're going to let every vote be counted. We're going to let every voice be heard. We're going to let the counties that haven't reported yet report. We will see what happens tomorrow night, right? I want to thank everybody who has worked their tails off on this campaign. all the supporters all across this state. Grassroots is what this campaign has been about, and grassroots is what is going to help to turn this state around. No matter what happens at the end of the count, you know, they'll probably count for the next week or so. No matter what happens at the end of this, when all the votes are counted, we the people need to continue to let our voice be heard and stand up for our God-given constitutionally protected rights. The support I have seen all across this state for our rights, for we the people, for regular working people, it's been tremendous. Absolutely, I am so proud of this campaign and what we have done and what we will continue to do is be active in the political process and not bow down to the left special interest groups and keep fighting for what this country was founded on. I'm very proud of all of you. I'm very proud of all the people all across this state who go to work every single day, provide for their family, don't look for a handout. That is who we are. That is what is going to change things. No matter what the count ends up being in a week or two on this election, we the people cannot give up, ever. There have been far too many flag-draped coffins in this nation's history for us to give up on anything. We are going to fight for every single vote. We're going to dig down and find out what is actually going on. Did you guys have a good time tonight? How about Dakota Foreman, right? Is he awesome, isn't he? I love you guys. This has been one heck of a ride, and we're not done yet. Keep the faith. Never give up. Never give up. Thank you guys. God bless you. God bless Washington State. And always stand up for what you believe in. Thank you very much. Thank you guys. Your patience is commendable. We knew this was going to go long, but who knew we're going to go into maybe tomorrow morning, maybe even longer. But look, we feel good about where we are. We really do. I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election. We knew because of the unprecedented early vote and the mail-in vote that it's going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient until the hard work of tallying the votes is finished. And it ain't over till every vote is counted, every ballot is counted. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good about where we are. We believe one of the nets has suggested we've already won Arizona, but we're confident about Arizona. That's a turnaround. We also just called it for Minnesota, and we're still in the game in Georgia, although that's not one we expected. And we're feeling real good about Wisconsin and Michigan. And by the way, it's going to take time to count the votes. We're going to win Pennsylvania. Yes. I've been talking to folks in Philly, Allegheny County, Scranton, and they're really encouraged by the turnout and what they see. Look, you know, we could know the results as early as tomorrow morning, but it may take a little longer. As I've said all along, it's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people. But I'm optimistic about this outcome. And I want to thank every one of you who came out and voted in this election. And by the way, Chris Coons and the Democrats, congratulations here in Delaware. Pardon? Hey, John, the Gov, yeah, the whole team, man. You've done a great job. I'm grateful to the poll workers, to our volunteers, our canvassers, everyone who participated in this democratic process. And I'm grateful to all of my supporters here in Delaware and all across the nation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And folks, you heard me say it before. Every time I walk out of my grandpa's house up in Scranton, he'd yell, "Joey, keep the faith." And my grandma, when she was alive, yelled, "No, Joey, spread it." Keep the faith, guys. We're going to win this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your patience is great. Let's walk over here.
A nation divided, and tonight an election like nothing we've ever seen before.
I'm superstitious about predicting what an outcome is going to be, but I'm hopeful.
We're going to have a great night. We're going to have a great night, and we're going to have, much more importantly, we're going to have a great 4 years.
The stakes are high, and the voters know it as election records are shattered.
It's almost a matter of life and death, it feels like, especially this time, just because there's so many people's rights are on the line, people's lives are on the line.
Tonight, we're tracking the results you've been waiting for.
And I'm digging deeper into the numbers, what they mean, and how they compare to past elections.
We have live team coverage as election staff are racing to count the results. This special edition of KREM 2 News at 10, our election night coverage begins right now.
Well, the uncertainty has been weighing on us all. In downtown Spokane, some businesses boarded up tonight, bracing for the worst, but most hoping for the best.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on this historic night. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. We are bringing you the very latest results of our local as well as national races.
Want to get right now to the top race of the night, the presidential race.
KREM 2's political reporter Casey Decker joining us right now from the CBS newsroom. Casey, former Vice President Joe Biden just spoke to supporters a few moments ago, still very optimistic, but not yet celebrating. So what do you make of his comments tonight?
Well, what he's waiting for really is what we're all waiting for, which is the results in some of those battleground states, still waiting on some key numbers in states like Pennsylvania, Arizona. It's really going to all come down to that. We might not know till the end of the week because of how long it's going to take some of those states to process. Go ahead and take a listen now to what the vice president said just a few moments ago.
But look, we feel good about where we are. We really do. I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election. You know, we could know the results as early as tomorrow morning, but it may take a little longer. As I've said all along, it's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people. But I'm optimistic about this outcome.
So he's really, again, like I said, waiting on some of those battleground states, but neither Washington nor Idaho really counts as one. In fact, both states right now have already been called for one candidate or the other. Let's go ahead and look at those numbers here. You can see the state of Washington right now, AP has called that race for Vice President Joe Biden with a 61% of the vote. Right now, the Vice President is, of course, leading in Washington. That was to be expected given Washington's history as a deeply blue state. Meanwhile, over in Idaho, President Trump is expected to win. He's got a large lead there, and AP has called that race for him as well. In Spokane County, even though the state of Washington is going towards Joe Biden right now, current President Trump is leading there. You can see there the Idaho numbers, 59-41, leading right now for Trump. And in Spokane County, Trump is also up. And Trump, of course, also up in Kootenai County over there in Idaho. Again, not a surprise to see Vice President Biden leading in Washington or to see President Trump leading in Idaho, Spokane County, or Kootenai County. So right now, not a lot of surprises here locally in the inland Northwest. Still waiting on a lot of those numbers in the battleground states nationwide before we'll know who will be the next president.
All right, Casey Decker live tonight. Thank you very much, Casey. Well, tonight the AP has called incumbent Governor Jay Inslee as the winner. As Casey just mentioned, Inslee faced Republic Police Chief Laurie Culp. Take a look at those results right there. Again, 51%. This is, well, this is going for Joe Biden. Meantime, we're talking about Governor Inslee. This is his third term as governor. Tonight, Governor Inslee held a watch party where he addressed his supporters.
The voters of the state of Washington tonight did not vote to cower from COVID or to cower from climate change or to cower from those forces in Washington, D.C. who want to take away our health care. No, they voted to confront those challenges, to defeat those challenges, and to organize all of the energies of the state of Washington to accomplish those great victories. We'll see you in the next 4 years. Take care.
So again, that was Governor Jay Inslee about an hour ago addressing Washington voters after, again, the AP projects that he has been reelected as governor of Washington, now would be getting into his third term. In the meantime, Laurie Culp, his Republican challenger, also spoke just a few moments ago. He expressed surprise at the results tonight, did not concede the race.
This campaign has been a grassroots campaign from the very beginning. It has been about we the people, about each and every one of you. and people just like us all across this state. We are not conceding. We are going to let everyone's voice be heard and every vote be counted.
Lauren Culp again not conceding, even though early returns show that Governor Inslee, current Governor Inslee, and the incumbent has a sizable lead at this point. Now, only 2 governors have served 3 terms before. The last time was Governor Daniel Evans, and that was from 1965 to 1977.
We'll continue to track that one, of course. Tonight, 2 Democrats, though, facing off in the race for lieutenant governor. A field of candidates splitting the Republican vote earlier in the primary. So it was Democrat Denny Heck who was facing off against Democrat Marco Elias because they were the top 2 on the primary result. So as you can see, Denny Heck clearly in the lead right now with 58% of the vote against Marco Elias with just 42% tonight.
Let's move on to Washington's 5th Congressional District. Kathy Mamoris Rogers looking to secure her 9th term representing the 5th District in the U.S. House. Dave Wilson conceded to Mamoris Rogers, who is projected to win. If we take a look at the results right now, she has 59% of the vote so far compared to Dave Wilson's 41%. Mamoris Rogers was watching election returns in downtown Spokane tonight.
KREM 2's Regina Ahn was down there as well. She talked with the Eastern Washington Congresswoman just a short time ago. Regina?
Yeah, Whitney and Mark, so Republican Kathy Mamoris Rogers just actually gave her victory speech just a few moments ago, and she tells me she is humbled and honored to take on this role now for the 9th consecutive term on the 5th Congressional District. Now for 2 more years, she says she feels really confident that she will make some big changes coming up.
I am humbled by the support of the people of Eastern Washington. And I'm going to continue to work hard to get results, to lead on issues that are important to Eastern Washington around creating jobs and making sure that we have access to quality and affordable health care and closing the digital divide, addressing the need for rural broadband in particular that has only been underscored since COVID. And so I take this responsibility very seriously.
And Rogers did speak on several topics tonight, one of those being the COVID-19 pandemic. She says it's taking a little bit longer than she had anticipated. She did talk about a second stimulus bill as well, a package for people, also the Paycheck Protection Program. She mentioned that she wants to get Eastern Washingtonians back into work, and she has everyone's back. She's hoping to make some real change in these next 2 years. And she says for the biggest thing is wanted to congratulate the 1st and 2nd graders going back to school, of course, next week in Spokane. And coming up at 11, she did speak on Governor Inslee, so we'll have that and much more coming up at 11. For now, live here in Spokane, Regina Ahn, KREM 2 News.
All right, sounds good, Regina. Thank you very much. A lot of parents also tonight tracking Referendum 90.
Yeah, a vote to approve R90 supports a law passed early this year which requires public schools to provide age-appropriate comprehensive sex education to all students. While that law does allow for parents to excuse their kids from the curriculum, grassroots organizers gathered a lot of signatures to get this referendum on the ballot. As you can see, though, as of right now, it was approved pretty easily tonight by a margin of 60% of the vote compared to 40% of the vote.
We do want to send things over now to our Amanda Rowley, who is live at the Spokane Arena. That is where thousands of Spokane County voters turned out today to register so that their vote could be counted today.
Yeah, the doors closed at 8 o'clock tonight, just about 2 hours ago. But Amanda, we understand elections workers did not clock out right away, right?
No, they did not, Mark and Whitney. By 8 o'clock, now we had nearly 2,500 bodies walk through the Spokane Arena doors. We expected these election office folks here to be here well through the night, but they actually wrapped up close to 9 o'clock, so got out pretty quickly. We were there, though, when Spokane County Auditor Vicki Dalton closed the doors right at 8.
It's in the books, guys. It's 8 o'clock.
So some voters got it right down to the wire. We did see some voters running to the doors in order to make that 8 p.m. cutoff. Here's what they told us on their way in, though.
Just got off work and wanted to race in here and get registered to vote.
Are you excited to vote?
A little bit excited, a little bit scared, but we'll see how it goes.
How are you feeling about just the election overall? Are you nervous, excited?
No, I'm ready to get it over with.
Now at 8 o'clock back at the elections office. There was one gentleman there who pushed the button to do one last count. We're looking at those results now, but they will resume the process tomorrow starting at 7 a.m. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Reporting from the Spokane Arena, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
All right, Amanda, thank you very much. All right, still ahead on this election coverage night of KREM 2 News. We are continuing to track the local races in both Washington and Idaho, including Spokane County Commissioner and the Kootenai County Sheriff.
And it's been a record-breaking night in Kootenai County. Coming up, we'll show you a look as they continue to count ballots.
Welcome back to our election coverage tonight. Now let's see how the races for Spokane County Commissioner are shaping up.
So in District 1, that's where we begin with incumbent Josh Kearns, who is facing Democrat Ted Cummings. Kearns has served on the county commission since 2016. So let's take a look at the latest numbers if we can get those right now. As we take a look at those numbers, We're really hoping to get the numbers. Doesn't look like we're going to get those quite yet. We would love to get those numbers.
There we go.
There they are.
Oh,
that's
no,
not the right one, though.
District
But let's
4.
take a look at this one anyway. This was the race between Bob Mccaslin and Laurie Fagan. You can clearly see Bob Mccaslin is the one who is in the lead now with 59% of the vote. Those are the ones who are vying for the position 1 seat in eastern Spokane County. This was the seat that was held by Matt Shea, but he did decide not to run for re-election. So now again, Bob Mccaslin clearly in the lead for that particular seat.
Not entirely surprising for Spokane County, a pretty red district out there. Laurie Fagan, 41% again. Oh, here's Lance Garrell. This is position 2 out there, District 4, position 2. Rob Chase, 61% of the vote right now. Lance Garrell with 39% of the vote right now. Again, these results not entirely surprising for that part of Spokane Valley.
All right.
As for the Washington State House District 4, I think we saw that briefly up here. Let's see how those races are turning out right now. So again, that's Democrat Laurie Fagan, Republican Bob Mccaslin. Actually, we just went through that one a few moments ago.
All right, so let's move over to Idaho. We talk about the current sheriff, Ben Wolfinger, who we know was going to retire. So 3 candidates were on the ballot for that particular issue. Republican Bob Norris, Libertarian Justin Nagel, and Independent Mike Bauer.
All right, taking a look at the results right now, it looks like Republican Rob Norris in the lead with 64% of the vote compared to Mike Bauer's 27% to Justin Nagel's 9% of the vote.
And vying for U.S. Senate in the state of Idaho, Republican Jim Risch and Democrat Paulette Jordan facing off. And you can clearly see Jim Risch in the lead with 59% of the vote. He, of course, is the incumbent as well.
All right,
and we are continuing our coverage of this special election here on KREM 2.
Our Taylor Vito is live in Kootenai County, where they have set an all-time record for ballots returned so far. We'll be right back with more on that after this break.
Now, your local Storm Tracker 2 forecast. All right, welcome back. Time to talk weather. Take a break from the election news for just a moment here because weather-wise, we're in for a pretty rainy week ahead of us while our temperatures have remained warm for the time being. The weather headlines, at least for the rest of this week, windy, especially for Wednesday and Thursday. Look for plenty of rain and shower chances. We saw a bit of that today, and then much colder weather as we do head into the weekend. We did see a bit of rain, especially between about 4 and 7 o'clock. A lot of our reporters reporting around Spokane did get a little douse of rainfall. A little bit of some light shower activity still between Deer Park, Sandpoint, and the Coeur d'Alene areas, but it is pretty light for today. But those rain showers don't go too far. For tomorrow, pretty cloudy day. I think most of the showers will be in North Idaho for the afternoon hours. But Thursday, the windiest day of our forecast and probably the rainiest day overall. A good batch of rain will at least linger through most of the afternoon and evening hours. That actually looks like it continues into Friday as well. Very little movement out of this weather system that's hitting our area. So expect a decent amount of rain Thursday and Friday for the area. But I will say this, heading into Saturday, the rain looks like it's going to come to an end, and our computer models have trended away from snow showers. So there's a little less snow in the forecast today as compared to what I had from yesterday. Still, I'll leave a blip of a snow shower chance in the forecast for Friday night if those temperatures are cold enough, but we are trending towards rain, and we will see a decent bit of it. Again, a little bit over North Idaho for Wednesday, quite a bit of rain Thursday and Friday. Those will be windy days as well. And then look at how those temperatures fall off. We go from the 60s tomorrow down to the upper 30s by the time we exit the weekend.
Well, good evening and thank you for joining our special election night coverage. I'm Mark Hanrahan alongside Whitney Ward.
Welcome everyone. So the ballots are in, the polls are now closed, and every 30 minutes we are here tracking results in Washington and in Idaho.
And as we start to get a better idea of numbers coming in, we want to get straight to our political reporter, Casey Decker.
He's live right now with some of those results. So Casey, what are we seeing as the numbers continue to pour in?
Yeah, we've seen some stuff that we were expecting, like Jay Inslee looking like he's going to retain his term here in Washington, and President Trump winning in Idaho, and Vice President Joe Biden winning here in Washington. But let's take a look at some of the other races, some ones that we haven't really talked about as much right here. Here's the Superintendent of Public Instruction in Washington, Chris Rakedal. He's the incumbent. He's the guy who's in there right now. He's currently leading 57-43 over Maya Espinoza. Now, this is an interesting race for a couple reasons. One, it's kind of a referendum on the job he's been doing regarding the coronavirus pandemic and how schools have been handling that. And two, Maya Espinoza has made a big deal of that sex ed law. R90, of course, is one of the things on the ballot that deals with that. But this race also deals with that as well. She has claimed things like fourth graders will be taught sexual positions because of that law. That was found to be false by a court. Anyway, this has been a big race because of that controversy, but right now it looks like Rakedal's going to stay in that role. He's leading 57-43 right now. Let's take a look now at the race for Kootenai County Sheriff. That one is also a pretty interesting race because Robert Norris is really running away with it here. 64% of the vote so far to Mike Bauer's 27%. Personally, I was expecting a little bit more of a challenge from Bauer here in the race to fill Ben Wolfinger's job, but right now it looks like Robert Norris, the Republican, is doing very well there. And finally, let's look at one other ballot measure here in Washington. That's actually a constitutional amendment. This one's really surprising to me because it's right now voters are choosing to reject it 53-47. All this amendment did was basically allow the state to invest some public money into stocks for a specific fund for people who require assistance for day-to-day activities. It was something that was overwhelmingly approved in Olympia. Only a handful of lawmakers from either party voted against it, but right now the majority of Washingtonians are voting against it, and that is an interesting case study right there in communication about ballot measures. For now, I'll send it back to you in the studio. Mark.
All right, Casey Decker live tonight. Casey, thank you very much. Meantime, in North Idaho, Kootenai County voters turned out in a big way, we're learning tonight.
Yeah, so we want to send things now to Taylor Vito, who is at the Kootenai County Elections Office. Taylor.
Well, yeah, guys, it's been a record-breaking night here in Kootenai County, the highest voter turnout ever, according to elections officials. I'm going to step to the side here and let you take a live look at the vote counting machines here at the elections office in Coeur d'Alene. These election workers are busy at it. It's really heating up now, especially since the polls closed at 8. We're seeing more and more ballots coming in. A very busy night across the county. There were some lines in some locations, but elections officials told us things went smoothly. Some locations were also running out of voter registration forms, and county elections officials actually had to run some to those different areas. We caught up with the Kootenai County clerk and the top elections official. He is also the top election official in the county just after those polls closed at 8. Here's what he said.
It's been an exciting evening for sure, Taylor. It has been record numbers of voters in Kootenai County, and we are now getting ready to start counting those record number of ballots. And my goal is to have it done tonight.
Well, there you heard it, hoping to have all those results coming in tonight. Coming back out here live, this is actually the one location where all the counting is done in the county here. So we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Taylor Vito live in Kootenai County tonight. Taylor, thank you very much.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We want to get right back into our election night coverage here on the CW.
We are joined now again by our political reporter, Casey Decker. Casey, now we want to talk about the presidential race, especially as it compares to the previous 2016 race, of course, with Donald Trump again looking for a second term.
Yeah, well, right now we're seeing that Vice President Joe Biden is leading in the state of Washington, 61-37. You can see here, I'm not actually sure what we're looking at there. That looks, I have no idea what that particular graphic is, but in 2020 Washington, Biden was leading 61-37, but we can take a look at 2016 there. There we go. We can see Hillary Clinton was the winner in Washington in 2016, 54-38. So Biden right now doing better in Washington compared to Hillary Clinton in 2016. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Spokane County. You can see there Trump won Spokane County 49-41 in 2016. This year 49-48. So more people choosing to go with Biden than Hillary Clinton as well in 2016 or in 2020 compared to 2016, but still about the same number of people going with Donald Trump. In the state of Idaho, Trump carried that 59-38 in 2020 right now, where he is carrying that. In 2016, Trump about the same, 59, but Hillary Clinton much less than Biden right now. She only had about 27% of the vote. So Joe Biden doing better in Spokane County and in Idaho compared to Hillary Clinton, even though Trump leading in both of those areas. And finally, let's take a look at Kootenai County specifically. You can see in 2016, Trump won that 67-24. Right now, Trump leading 60-38. So another instance where Joe Biden is doing better in the inland Northwest compared to in 2016, the way that Hillary Clinton did. We'll go ahead and send it back to you guys in the studio now.
All right, Casey, thank you very much. And we do want to stay with the presidential race now. That was kind of the more local picture. Now we want to look at the bigger picture as we take a look again at this contest between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Currently, it looks like 51% of the vote is with Joe Biden, 49% with Donald Trump. But again, we know there are several key states that have not yet been called.
Yeah, likely will not know the winner tonight. We'll have to wait till tomorrow or maybe the days to come to find out who is the winner of that race. Well, tonight the AP has called the race for incumbent Governor Jay Inslee as well. Inslee was faced by Republican Police Chief Lauren Culp. This is Governor Inslee's third term as governor, and he won, or he is leading, I should say, so far pretty handily tonight.
About 60% of the vote, 40% for the Republican challenger Lauren Culp. All right, let's finally take a look at two Democrats facing off in the race for lieutenant governor in Washington. A field of candidates split the Republican vote back in the primary, so it ended up with two Democrats. Now Denny Heck facing off against Democrat Marco Lias, and you can see 58% of the vote easily ahead for Denny Heck against Marco Lias tonight.
And finally, Kathy Mamoris Rogers looking to secure her 9th term representing the 5th District in the U.S. House of Representatives. We can tell you, we couldn't see the results right there, but she is ahead pretty handily tonight. In fact, her challenger, Dave Wilson, already called and conceded to Representative McMorris Rogers earlier tonight.
Also, a lot of parents tracking Referendum 90 this evening.
Yeah, vote to approve R90 supports a law passed earlier this year which requires public schools to provide age-appropriate comprehensive sex education for all students. That law does allow for parents to excuse their kids from the curriculum. Grassroots organizers gathered a lot of signatures to get this referendum on the ballot. As you can see, it is approved by a pretty wide margin so far, 60-40.
A lot of issues that we're going to continue tracking. We're back at 11 on KREM 2. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching KREM 2 News at 10.
At Papa Murphy's, we knead seriously, chop seriously, and shred seriously. Because we're serious about Tuesdays, even if you're not. Every Tuesday, get a large pizza for just $10.99. Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
Colder weather and shorter days bring a sense of joy and anticipation for holiday gatherings and traditions. Nothing speaks holiday tradition more than poinsettias from the plant farm. For generations, bigger, better, redder poinsettias have become a symbol of the holidays. Visit our home decor and gift center for delightful decorations to brighten your home. The Plant Farm in Spokane Valley. Family owned and locally grown, because life is better in the garden.
When you come to Touchmark, you have made a choice that will affect your future in a positive way.
And it affects all your family too, in a positive way.
We took a better part of 2 years to make this decision and made the choice based upon all the great things that we experienced when we visited here.
The staff was very friendly, and the
thing is, they know your name. They bother to say hi.
We did not come here for the end. We came here for the future. And our future is bright at Touchmark.
Your Spokane Pella team makes replacing your drafty, inefficient doors and windows so easy. Call to schedule a free quote and expert advice, or visit the Pella showroom and see our huge selection to find the look and features you want. Our expert installation team will be on top of every detail from start to finish.
Let our Pella advisors help you find the right window and door solutions for your home.
All month long, our Black Friday special is 50% off qualifying installations. Pella, 411 East Pacific, Spokane.
How to change the way you pizza. Step 1, grab a delicious Papa Murphy's pizza. Step 2, bake. Step 3, chow down on the deliciousness. Right now, get the Cowboy Pizza for just $13. Papa Murphy's.
Your late night laughs are on Spokane CW22.
Extra! Extra! Extra!
Election night Star Wars.
The meanness, the selfishness of Donald Trump.
John Legend slams Trump. The president attacks Jay-Z, Bon Jovi, and Gaga.
I can tell you stories about Lady Gaga.
So Gaga was stumping for Biden in Pennsylvania. She started talking about how much she loved Taylor Kinney.
I loved him so much, it just did not work out.
From coast to coast, the stars get out the vote. Vote. And a zoom, boom. Hello, Justin Timberlake.
How's everybody doing?
Extra!
Did they or did they not split up? Common clears up the rumors that it's over with Tiffany Haddish. And some dancing divorce news. Which one of the ballroom's most famous faces just filed against her husband?
Extra!
Hours after being forced to drop out, Jeannie Mai speaks out.
And I'm going to continue to work hard to get results, to lead on issues that are important to Eastern Washington around creating jobs and making sure that we have access to quality and affordable health care, and closing the digital divide, addressing the need for rural broadband in particular that has only been underscored since COVID. And so I take this responsibility very seriously.
And Rogers did talk about a lot of topics tonight, but one of those biggest ones was COVID-19 and this pandemic. She did mention that she does want to work on the second stimulus package and also the Paycheck Protection Program. She says there will be something coming up after the election, and she also spoke about Governor Inslee and giving him support and saying that he's doing a great job in communication, having that open communication. And she also talked about how she believes President Trump will still win, but if Joe Biden does take that president role, that she will do her best to work with him in the coming years. Live here in Spokane, Regina On, back to you guys.
Regina, thank you very much. Also at this hour, the Associated Press projecting that Governor Jay Inslee has won a third term as governor of Washington with at least 60% of the vote tonight. He addressed his supporters just a little while ago.
The voters of the state of Washington tonight did not vote to cower from COVID or to cower from climate change, or to cower from those forces in Washington, D.C. who want to take away our health care. No, they voted to confront those challenges, to defeat those challenges, and to organize all of the energies of the state of Washington to accomplish those great victories. We'll see you in the next 4 years. Take care.
Again, that was Governor Jay Inslee earlier tonight addressing Washington voters after being reelected as the governor of Washington.
In the meantime, Inslee's Republican challenger Lauren Culp also spoke just about an hour ago. He expressed surprise at the results tonight, and he did not concede the race.
Let's take a listen into part of what he had to say earlier tonight.
This campaign has been a grassroots campaign from the very beginning. It has been about we the people, about each and every one of you, and people just like us all across this state. We are not conceding. We are going to let everyone's voice be heard and every vote be counted.
So that was Republican candidate for Governor Lauren Culp, again not conceding tonight, even though the results thus far show the incumbent, Jay Inslee, easily in the lead at this point with a margin of about 60 to 40% of the vote so far. A lot of votes coming in tonight, not a whole lot of surprises, at least locally tonight.
And the numbers here locally demonstrating that there is quite a divide between the east side of the state and the west side of the state, as Lauren Culp, for example, was in the lead for this portion of the state. So we'll continue to track that and give you analysis as we come up for KREM 2 News here at 11. We'll see you then. Good night, everyone.
There's so much
A nation divided, and tonight an election like nothing we've ever seen before.
I'm superstitious about predicting what an outcome is going to be, but I'm hopeful.
We're going to have a great night. We're going to have a great night, and we're going to have, much more importantly, we're going to have a great 4 years.
The stakes are high and the voters know it as election records are shattered.
It's almost a matter of life and death, it feels like, especially this time, just because there's so many people's rights are on the line, people's lives are on the line.
Tonight, we're tracking the results you've been waiting for.
And I'm digging deeper into the numbers, what they mean, and how they compare to past elections.
We have live team coverage as election staff are racing to count the results. This special edition of KREM 2 News at 10, our election night coverage begins right now.
Well, the uncertainty has been weighing on all of us. In downtown Spokane tonight, some businesses boarded up, bracing for the worst, while most people hoping for the best.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for this historic night. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
Welcome everyone, I'm Whitney Ward. We are bringing you the very latest results for our local as well as our national races.
We want to get right to our top race of the night, that of course the race for president. And we'll kick things off with political reporter Casey Decker.
He's joining us now live. And Casey, former Vice President Joe Biden just talking to supporters about an hour ago. We're hearing that Donald Trump is about to make an address. Both, though, very much still saying that they are optimistic at this hour.
Yeah, well, Vice President Joe Biden optimistic, although he's certainly much more cautiously optimistic than the president has been right now. Go ahead and take a listen to what he told supporters about an hour ago.
It's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people.
Yeah, you can hear him there that he is still waiting on some of the battleground states to come in before anyone really declares victory. We're still a long way away from knowing whether or not the president will be re-elected, excuse me. Now, Donald Trump tweeted a bit earlier, quote, "I will be making a big statement tonight, a big win." Now, again, we do not know yet who has won this election. We are still a while away from knowing that. So the president there jumping the gun pretty significantly there. We don't have results yet from some key battleground states. We do, however, have some results here in the Inland Northwest. Let's look at those now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the state of Idaho or Washington. Let's go ahead and look at those numbers next here. All right, it looks like we don't have those numbers up and ready for us right now. But again, no surprises locally. Washington right now, Vice President Joe Biden leading President Trump. That's not a surprise. Washington, always a blue state. Idaho right now, President Trump leading Vice President Joe Biden. Again, Idaho, always a red state. At the county level, Kootenai County also going towards Trump. Spokane County also going towards Trump, although not that much. Again, no surprises locally. Still a lot to wait for nationally, and both candidates waiting to hear those results. Although, again, the president jumping the gun there, saying he's going to have a big win. The vice president says he's optimistic, but he's still waiting cautiously for those numbers in the battleground states. We'll send it back to you guys.
We'll certainly keep an eye on that. And when it comes to who does actually win the White House, it all comes down to the Electoral College. There are 538 total electoral votes. 270, that is what is needed to win.
The number of electors in each state is determined by how many seats each state has in Congress. So in Washington, Joe Biden the projected winner here, so he'll get 12 of those electoral votes.
And in Idaho, Donald Trump is projected to win. That state has 4 votes.
Meantime, over in Montana, Donald Trump projected to win. That state has 3 electoral votes.
Let's take a look at the map now of all the states that are making up the Electoral College. You can see California has the most of all states with 55. Followed then by Texas with 38, New York with 29.
Tonight, the AP has called the race for Washington governor for incumbent Governor Jay Inslee. Inslee faced Republic Police Chief Laurie Culp. Take a look at the results right here. Governor Jay Inslee way out in front right now, a margin of 59% to 41%. So Governor Inslee elected to a 3rd term as governor. He held a watch party where he addressed his supporters earlier.
The voters of the state of Washington tonight did not vote to cower from COVID, or to cower from climate change, or to cower from those forces in Washington, D.C. who want to take away our health care. No, they voted to confront those challenges, to defeat those challenges, and to organize all of the energies of the state of Washington to accomplish those great victories. We'll see you in the next 4 years. Take care.
So that was Governor Jay Inslee just about an hour ago addressing Washington voters again after he was reelected easily as governor of Washington. In the meantime, his Republican challenger Laurie Culp also spoke a while ago. He expressed surprise at tonight's results and it did not concede the race.
This campaign has been a grassroots campaign from the very beginning. It has been about we the people, about each and every one of you, and people just like us all across this state. We are not conceding. We are going to let everyone's voice be heard and every vote be counted.
So that was Laurie Culp, again, not conceding tonight, even though he is down substantially to Governor Jay Inslee at this point. So only 2 governors have served 3 terms before. The last time was Governor Daniel Evans from 1965 to 1977.
So tonight, 2 Democrats actually facing off in the race for lieutenant governor. It was a field of candidates that split the Republican vote in the primary, so it ended up with 2 Democrats at the top of the heap. Denny Heck facing off against Democrat Marco Leas for the position of lieutenant governor, and you can see clearly Denny Heck in the lead with 58% of the vote against Marco Leas with 42% tonight.
Kathy McMorris Rogers looking to secure her 9th term representing the 5th District in the U.S. House of Representatives. Dave Wilson has conceded to McMorris Rogers. McMorris Rogers projected to win pretty handily tonight, I believe by a margin of about 60-40 as well across the state of Washington. McMorris Rogers was watching election returns in downtown Spokane tonight.
KREM 2's Regina Ahn talked with the Eastern Washington Congresswoman earlier this evening. Hi, Regina.
Hi, Whitney. Hi, Mark. Yeah, so tonight I did have that one-on-one with Republican Kathy McMorris Rogers, and she tells me she is so excited to take on now the 9th consecutive term in the 5th Congressional District, and she tells me she feels honored and humbled to represent the people of Eastern Washington.
I am humbled by the support of the people of Eastern Washington. And I'm going to continue to work hard to get results, to lead on issues that are important to Eastern Washington around creating jobs and making sure that we have access to quality and affordable health care and closing the digital divide, addressing the need for rural broadband in particular that has only been underscored since COVID. And so I take this responsibility very seriously.
And I do want to note that here at the Davenport Hotel, media was only allowed on the 2nd floor, and she did make her way up there after giving her victory speech. And I have to tell you, a very wonderful, pleasant woman to meet her for the first time tonight. And she did tell me she has strategic plans in place for COVID-19. She did say it lasts a little bit longer than she had anticipated, but she did talk about a second stimulus bill that she wants to start after elections, and also the Paycheck Protection Program, and wanted to wish all the 1st and 2nd grade parents a great first day next week. Live here in Spokane, Regina Ahn, KREM 2 News.
Regina, thank you. And a lot of parents tracking Referendum 90 tonight.
A vote to approve R90 supports a law passed earlier this year which requires public schools to provide age-appropriate comprehensive sex education for all students. Well, that law does allow for parents to excuse their kids from the curriculum. Grassroots organizers gathered a lot of signatures to get this referendum on the ballot. However, if we take a look at the results, 60% approving that measure tonight compared to 40% rejecting. So comprehensive sex ed remains in place.
And we do want to send things over now to our Amanda Rowley, who is live at the Spokane Arena. That is where thousands of Spokane County voters turned out today so they could make sure that they could register and vote before that 8 o'clock deadline.
Yeah, the doors closed at 8, but Amanda, we understand elections workers did not clock out right at 8 o'clock, right?
That's right, Mark and Whitney. Right as the doors closed, they still were processing those folks that just made it in time, made it through the door. And as of 8 o'clock tonight, about 2,500 bodies walked through those doors. We were there when the doors closed.
It's in the books, guys. It's 8 o'clock.
Many people got right down to the wire getting through those doors today. We saw some people running to the doors, making sure that their vote counted. Here's what they told us on their way in.
Just got off work and wanted to race in here and get registered to vote.
Are you excited to vote?
A little bit excited, a little bit scared, but we'll see how it goes.
How are you feeling about just the election overall? Are you nervous, excited?
No, I'm ready to get it over with.
Now, starting tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., that is when the elections office staff will resume processing those ballots. Reporting from the Spokane Arena tonight, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
All right, Amanda, thank you very much. Also, we want to let you know we are expecting to hear from President Donald Trump tonight as the presidential race at this moment still too close to call. So there is the podium. He is expected to come out at any moment. So just letting you know, we will bring you the president's address just as soon as it does begin.
All right, still ahead on this special election coverage here on KREM 2 News. We are continuing to track local races in both Washington and Idaho, including Spokane County Commissioner and Kootenai County Sheriff.
And it's been a record-breaking night here in Kootenai County. Coming up, we'll take a look at the polls.
All right, welcome back. As we again are waiting for President Donald Trump to come to this podium, he is expected to arrive at any moment to address the nation and address voters. Right now, of course, the presidential race itself in America still too close to call, but we will be right here and we'll bring you the president's address just as soon as it is available.
Meantime, let's get right into those local election results for Washington State House District 4 position. Let's see how those races are turning out at this hour. Democrat Laurie Fagan and Republican Bob Mccaslin are vying for the position 1 seat. That seat was held by Matt Shea, but he decided not to run for re-election. And if we look at the results thus far, with 78% reporting, Bob Mccaslin in the lead pretty handily, 59% of the vote compared to Fagan's 41% of the vote.
And now we want to take a look at position 2. Republican Rob Chase and Democrat Lance Carell also vying for that position. And I believe that Republican Rob Chase is easily in the lead for that as well. That we don't have the exact numbers, but still he seems to be easily ahead tonight. Yeah, okay, let's head over to Idaho. Current Sheriff Ben Wolfinger in Kootenai County right now retiring, and 3 candidates are in the running. Republican Bob Norris, Libertarian Justin Nagel, and Independent Mike Bauer. If we take a look at the results, early results showing Robert Norris easily in the lead right now with 64% of the vote compared to 27% for Mike Bauer and 9% for Justin Nagel. All right, as vying for U.S. Senate seat in Idaho, Republican Jim Risch running for re-election against Democrat Paulette Jordan. Those two facing off, and easily you can see the incumbent Jim Risch with 61% of the vote, easily ahead this evening against 35% for Paulette Jordan. We are continuing our coverage of this special election here on KREM 2 News.
Our Taylor Vito is live in Kootenai County, where they have set a new all-time record for ballots returned thus far. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Going now.
having worked in the Bush White House, that Bush v. Gore decision, it was deeply scarring for a lot of people, and you know, we all remember it. We were there covering it. I went to bed that night thinking President Bush had won, and woke up in the morning with my husband saying, "I'm so sorry, I didn't win." And you know, it still weighs heavy on people's minds, and at the time there was no incumbent in the White House. The one thing that's really different about this, look at this setting, that where President Trump is going to be speaking from the East Room of the White House, just below the residence that he calls home, the People's House. I think that feels a little bit different tonight.
Well, it also felt different for the Republican National Convention. The final speech on Thursday night to be on the South Lawn, and we were there, and you know, this White House for this president in an age of COVID-19 has been the place where he is delivering the big moments, and this is obviously one of the biggest as he tries to hold on to a re-election.
Yeah, he has been forced to do all of these events.
Welcome back to our KREM 2 special election coverage, as we are still waiting to hear from President Donald Trump, who has indicated that he is about to come out and speak. Although we know the presidential race right now still too close to call, we will be continuing to monitor this, and we'll bring you the president's address just as soon as he does begin to talk.
Meantime, we'll get back to our local election results. Kootenai County voters have turned out in a very big way. That's what we're learning tonight.
So we want to send things right to Taylor Vito, who is at the Kootenai County Elections Office tonight. Taylor?
Well, yeah, guys, you know, it's a record-breaking night here in Kootenai County. In fact, the highest voter turnout ever, according to elections officials. I'm going to step to the side and let you take a live look now here at the county elections office, where elections office staff are busy counting the ballots. You can just see all the ballots they have in there, and they've been running them through those counting machines all through the evening. Now, the polls closed at 8, and about half an hour later, the first ballot box from a local precinct made its way in here, and you can bet these workers have been keeping busy. Now, we have some video from earlier this evening to show you as well. Even before the polls closed, workers were counting absentee ballots, and you'll recall that Kootenai County sent out a record number of absentees, more than triple the number they did in 2016. Across the county, lines got a little long at times, but county officials said everything went smooth. They did have to send some extra voter registration forms to some precincts. after those ballots closed, after the polls closed at 8, I should say, we caught up with the county clerk. Take a listen.
It's been an exciting evening for sure, Taylor. It has been record numbers of voters in Kootenai County, and we are now getting ready to start counting those record number of ballots. And my goal is to have it done tonight.
There you had it, hoping to have all those results tonight. Now, Kootenai County does all their counting at this location. They're actually the largest county in Idaho to do that. For now, reporting live in Coeur d'Alene, Taylor Vito, KREM 2 News.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Tremendous support. Millions and millions of people voted for us tonight, and a very sad group of people is trying to disenfranchise that group of people, and we won't stand for it. I want to thank the First Lady, my entire family. Celebration. We were winning everything, and all of a sudden it was just called off. The results tonight have been phenomenal, and we are getting ready. I mean, literally, we were just all set to get outside and just celebrate something that was so beautiful, so good. Such a vote, such a success. The citizens of this country have come out in record numbers. This is a record. There's never been anything like it. To support our incredible movement, we won states that we weren't expected to win. Florida, we didn't win it. We won it by a lot. The great state of Ohio. We won Texas. We won Texas by 700,000 votes, and they don't even include it in the tabulations. It's also clear that we have won Georgia. We're up by 2.5% for 117,000 votes with only 7% left. They're never going to catch us. They can't catch us. Likewise, we've clearly won North Carolina. 1.4% for 77,000 votes with only approximately 5% left. They can't catch us. We also, if you look and you see Arizona, we have a lot of life in that. And somebody declared that it was a victory for, and maybe it will be. I mean, that's possible. But certainly there were a lot of votes out there that we could get, because we're now just coming into what they call Trump territory. I don't know what you call it, but these were friendly Trump voters, and that could be overturned. The gentleman that called it, I watched tonight, he said, well, we think it's fairly unlikely that he could catch. Well, fairly unlikely. And we don't even need it. We don't need that. That was just a state that if we would have gotten it, it would have been nice, Arizona. But there's a possibility, maybe even a good possibility. In fact, since I saw that originally, it's been changed and the numbers have substantially come down just in a small amount of votes. So we want that obviously to stay in play. But most importantly, we're winning Pennsylvania by a tremendous amount. We're up 600, think of this. We're up 690,000 votes in Pennsylvania. 600. These aren't even close. It's not like, oh, it's close. With 64% of the vote in, it's going to be almost impossible to catch. And we're coming into good Pennsylvania areas where they happen to like your president. We're winning Michigan by, I'll tell you, I looked at the numbers. I said, whoa. I said, wow, that's a lot. By almost 300,000 votes. And 65% of the voters. And we're winning Wisconsin, so we're winning. We don't need all of them. We need, because when you add Texas in, which wasn't added, I spoke with the really wonderful governor of Texas just a little while ago, and Greg Abbott, he said, congratulations. He called me to congratulate me on winning Texas. I mean, we won Texas. I don't think they finished quite the tabulation, but there's no way. And it was almost complete, but he congratulated me. But he said, by the way, what's going on? I've never seen anything like this. Can I tell you what? Nobody has. So we won by 107,000 votes with 81% of the vote. That's Michigan. So when you take those three states in particular, and you take all of the others, I mean, we have so many, we had such a big night. You just take a look at all of these states that we've won tonight. And then you take a look at the kind of margins that we've won them by. And all of a sudden, it's not like we're up 12 votes and we have 60% left. We won states, and all of a sudden, I said, what happened to the election? It's off. And we have all these announcers saying, what happened? And then they said, oh, because you know what happened? They knew they couldn't win. So they said, let's go to court. And did I predict this, Newton? Did I say this? I've been saying this from the day I heard they were going to send out tens of millions of ballots. I said exactly, because either they were going to win, or if they didn't win, they'll take us to court. So Florida was a tremendous victory. 377. Texas, as we said. Ohio, a tremendous state, a big state. I love Ohio. We won by 8.1%, 400%. Almost 500,000 votes. North Carolina, big victory with North Carolina. And so we won there. We lead by 76,000 votes with almost nothing left. And all of a sudden, everything just stopped. This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. So our goal now is to ensure the integrity for the good of this nation. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list. It's a very sad moment. To me, this is a very sad moment. And we will win this. And as far as I'm concerned, we already have won. So worked with us. And Mr. Vice President, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to join you in thanking more than 60 million Americans who have already cast their vote for 4 more years for President Donald Trump. And while votes continue to be counted, we're going to remain vigilant, as the President said. The right to vote has been at the center of our democracy since the founding of this nation, and we're going to protect the integrity of the vote. But I really believe with all of my heart, with the extraordinary margins, Mr. President, that you've inspired in the states that you just described, and the way that you launched this movement across the country to make America great again, I truly do believe, as you do, that we are on the road to victory and we will make America great again.
Claiming victory, although we should point out no victor's been declared yet. This race too close to call. Several states, they're still counting ballots in. So again, no victor has been declared yet in the race for president.
Multiple states we know are still in play, including states that where it's just incredibly close. So we know that we will, of course, be continuing to track this. We know that they are still doing the counting. There are a lot of absentee ballots that have yet to be counted that by law are not even allowed to be looked at and tabulated until tomorrow.
Right. So it'll take possibly until tomorrow or several days to know the results in several of those states, including like Pennsylvania, which is a battleground state, of course, up there. So we'll keep tabs on that. But it's been a long night of election coverage. In terms of the local results here, Whitney, nothing too surprising. Governor Jay Inslee, the AP calling him for winning a 3rd term. Kathy Mamoris Rogers here handily winning so far as well in terms of her returns. You're looking at a graphic right now of Kim Wyman.
The Washington Secretary of State position, well, Kim Wyman again looks like she is in the lead to win that again, to win re-election. Also, we just saw that the DNR Commissioner, Hillary Franz, clearly in the lead as well to retain her position this evening.
A big item locally up for vote was Referendum 90. That was the mandatory sex education for all school children in the state of Washington. That was approved tonight, meaning that will remain in place. There was a big effort, especially locally, to have that repealed. That, it appears, did not happen.
There will be a lot to talk about as this continues throughout the evening, and certainly we'll continue tracking it tomorrow as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.